why I want to introduce you to Kevin. When I met Kevin, I remember it vividly. We were having what we called a house meeting on a Saturday morning, and I forget the block that house was on, but it was
Marsh Creek.
No, this is where Tanya lived. It was the women's house. We were meeting at the women's house. The first time I met you, might have been the second, but it was the scariest time I met you. Kevin had just come off the streets, and I remember he had a black trench coat on, and you were gnarly. You were gnarly then. The black trench coat, and I remember...
I had my Bowie knife.
You had your Bowie knife, man. And I remember, because he's making it a point with his knife, nobody messes with me. How far you've come. Man.
I've come a long way. I can say that when God brings you to it, he's going to bring you through it. Amen. This has been emotional for me. Every face and shopping cart that I seen, that name was Kevin Weigel. I posted a lot of pictures on Facebook, and I'm hearing from friends that God's going to bless you. I've already been blessed. We talked about in Bible study the other morning about how I had to learn how to separate my needs from my wants financially. This was a want for me, but it was a need for God. So it worked out well. I've been remembering back on how far I came from when I was living on the streets and standing on the side of the freeway with my sign and high on methamphetamines. And thanks for leading me to the Lord.
I remember you blew out once, and I remember, I forget who it was, talked me into going to find you, and they said you're camped down by the Antioch.
Yeah, right off the railroad tracks, right off in the pallets.
Oh wow! I went to Tent City, and I have never been to a more devastated place than that. People would build tents and establish living space, and then Public Works would go through, give them a notice, and then go in with a bulldozer and take it all out, and then they'd repose. But there's Kevin back in the tent. And it's amazing. We sang, in our worship that you can rely on the promises and the goodness of God.
The promises are true. Everything comes true. You have to keep working one day at a time. You keep seeking the Lord and keep doing the right thing. There was a time if he dropped his money, I would stand over it. Or I would steal your drugs and help you look for them. And I'm not that person no more. If somebody gives me too much change in the store, I make sure I give that back. I try and give back, and God gives back to me. He stands over my head with a bucket, and he just keeps on dumping. Can't stop him. Try and push it off to other people, and he just standing there with his bucket.
Amen. Oh. Kevin, one of the things that really impressed me with Kevin is he went back to Michigan. I think you turned yourself in.
Yes, I did. Yep, I got a little job, turned myself in. I had warrants, and I absconded the law when I left to come out here. I seen homelessness coming, and I came out here, and sure enough, homeless hit me, and I accumulated multiple warrants here. And one day enough was enough, and I left out of here, panhandled my way back to Michigan, and I'd get bum $10, make it a little ways. I had this little Mercedes 190E, and bum another $10, made it back, got a little job, and turned myself into the law. And then actually they didn't lock me up. I did like 30 days, and the judge wanted to lock me up, and I told him, hey, I got this little job, I'm trying. And so I kept paying off. There was one guy before I left, I had taken, I think, $25,000, $30,000 off when I left Michigan to do some work, and I never did that work. And I paid that guy back every dime. I called out here to Pastor Scott, and he turned me on to a lawyer up in Brentwood, and I called that lawyer I couldn't get my driver's license in California, wouldn't release my license, so he said, mail me $5,000. So I mailed him $5,000. And he said, well, can you appear in court? I says, I'm not coming back to California ever. And because I knew I had a bunch of warrants, but they cleared them all up. And I paid the $5,000. He appeared in court on my behalf, and then there was still, I think, a couple of little things hanging over my head, and I paid them off, and finally California released my license. And when I pulled up on the plane, I was thinking, man, I hope somebody didn't miss something. I want to make it home. But I paid back every dime and everything, and I've learned how to make amends to people, and I do that on a daily basis. Sometimes I can run my mouth on people when they piss me off, and I open my mouth and insert foot. I'm sure we all do that, but I learned how to directly make my amends on a daily basis. I took a moral inventory of my life. I try and be a shining example that the promises are true. You can live life sober. You don't have to have drugs. I've never had so much fun in my life. I thought my life was over when I quit getting high. I thought, what the heck am I going to do if I'm not getting high? I've never had so much fun. It's just unbelievable.
I'm privileged to follow Kevin on Facebook, so I know just about everything you do. But it impressed me that he made things right with the person that he robbed. And I just said, now that is a sign that God has touched a heart. And then from that point, I watched the legal issues dissipate. That's God's blessing and God's favor. And then lastly, God has built your business. Kevin is one of the most gifted contractors. You give him a piece of wood and a saw and a nail and a hammer, and he creates
and a knife.
And a knife, yeah. He creates art. And I'm always seeing the pictures of all the projects and the staircases, and worked for a large church for a while doing all of their props and design. And so anyway, Deborah was posting about Thanksgiving, and we were driving in the car, and she said, Kevin's on Facebook. He's asking what time he's coming out from Michigan. And I said, no way. Kevin wouldn't come out from Michigan just to help us with Thanksgiving. And sure enough, he did. So I'm...
And that was another thing on separating my needs. I didn't know, could I afford to come out here or not? And then a friend had helped me, with my room, and I've never booked a flight or nothing. I've always rode a bicycle. So he booked my room, made my car reservations and everything, and then when they didn't have power for their camper, I said, stay over here at the Hilton, it's only $120 a night. And Scott's like, no, it's not. Your buddy had some power. And he did. He travels all over the world, so he used his Hilton thing and got me a good deal on my room and probably airfare and everything else. I'm grateful for that person for helping me with it, but I paid for all that. And while I was here, I've had a couple of calls on some jobs. I've got one ending now, and I just don't worry about things anymore. Facebook, I think I'm addicted to it now. I post pictures of so much work, but just posting pictures on Facebook increased my annual income, $17-20K annually, just from putting pictures out there and people saying, I didn't know you did work like that. And it's amazing, but now I'm addicted to,
A new addiction.
yeah, I post everything. If I eat breakfast, you're going to see a picture of it.
We're going to start a Facebook meeting. Hi, my name's Kevin. I'm a Facebook addict. Don't laugh. Most of you would need to be at that meeting. Don't laugh. You'd be laughing. You'd be there too. So.
Well, I want to thank you all for, it feels like I got a new family out here, and everybody just treating me like a brother and family, and I was nervous to come out here at all, and it's been so much fun, so rewarding, and I'm going to remember you all. It's been part of my life that God brought me through it. They were singing that song where, oh boy, I'm losing words, but I heard somewhere where you travel through the valley of the shadow of death, you shall. Nowhere in there does it say to stop and pitch a tent. I think I heard that one from Scott a long time ago, but just keep on keeping on, take the one step in front of the other, and just do the right thing always. We don't think nobody's watching, but the angels are watching us, and I know my angel's probably sitting back, worn out, smoking a cigarette. But
I don't know if angels smoke. I got to check that out. We may get to heaven and find out God. So I don't know.
Stressed out.
So anyway, thank you, Kevin. Awesome, man.
Buddy. Thank you for being there for me, you guys.
I tried my best to get Kevin to stay, and I even tried to find his ticket so I could tear it up, but he's leaving tonight at 8 o'clock going back to Michigan.
And I want everybody to know this has nothing to do with me. It's not about me no more. It just isn't. I used to think me, I. That's all that came out of my mouth. This has nothing to do with me. It's all about him.
Amen. 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 God is faithful. Amen. All right. And I want to talk about being unthankful. I don't know about you, but it seems to me that as I go to different places, that more and more people are just unthankful. In fact, people just don't. I think that folks have actually taken out of the English language those two words, thank you. I mean, I'm at the post office and I'll hold the door open for somebody because they have a box in their hand, and they'll walk through and just look at me like I should be doing that, like I'm an employee of the post office. Or I'm at the store and I'm at Target and I go to get a cart, but somebody's coming in to get a cart, so I offer them my cart and I'll go fight to get the next one out, and they just take the cart and they just scurry on like, that's right, you should give it to me. And it never stopped to say thank you. It's as though we become a society, we become people that we expect all the time, and we never stop for a minute to say thank you. In fact, we're in a season right now that we call Thanksgiving, and we're coming up to Christmas, but I haven't seen a higher level of thankfulness as a result. In fact, the truth be told, that as I look around and as I'm stuck in traffic, and some of you that have possibly been to the mall, you've seen it at the mall, that people have become less thankful and have become more agitated and aggressive at the very time of the year that we should be celebrating and becoming more thankful. Well, I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, God, how does this relate in our relationship with you? And I looked at how that word was used throughout the Bible, how it was used both in the Old Testament. In Psalms, it is a word that is used repeatedly, as the psalmist David and some of the others that wrote Psalms, Asaph and what have you, they always talked about being thankful. But at the same time, when I read a lot of those Psalms, I'm looking for those portions about grief and struggles and God come to my rescue and God help me. I tend to overlook that 9 times out of 10, they're coupled with being thankful. Well, I thought, well, that's odd. That's really odd. Then you go into the New Testament and it even gets stronger. And then you come into the epistles and you have letters being written to believers, and it even becomes more stronger, the need to be thankful. In fact, it is as though a light went on and I began to see something new in God. And I have to admit that I was ashamed that I had to readjust my life because I had become unthankful myself. Now, not that I wouldn't say thank you to somebody that opened the door, or thank you for giving this to me, or what have you, but somehow I said thank you to those things, but I forgot thankfulness to God. Let me read you 2 scriptures. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 18, Paul writing says, give thanks in all circumstances. Well, that's powerful in itself. Give thanks in all circumstances. Not just some circumstances, not just the circumstances that seem right to you or pleasurable to you, but give thanks in all circumstances, in everything that you go through, everywhere you go, everybody that you talk to, the people you like, the people that you don't like, in all circumstances, because what? Because somebody said, what is God's will for my life? It is right here. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So what is His will for you? What is His will for me? His will is that we be thankful in all circumstances because of Him, because of His greatness, because of His love, because of His protection, because of everything. So anything I go through, I'm to be thankful in Him for what He is doing in the midst of it. Well, when I read that, I thought, well, man, Scott, I mean, are you thankful about everything? And I have to say, to my shame, I have not been thankful about everything. In fact, it has been a stressful 2 weeks with Thanksgiving and some other things that have happened in Deborah's life and trying to keep up. I became actually a grump. I wasn't thanking God for it or about it. I was complaining about it. If this would just work, if they just get out of my way, if so-and-so would just do this. And I realized that I had gone into a very unthankful mode. And yet Paul says that you're to be thankful in all circumstances because this is God's will for you. So have I been fulfilling God's will in my life? The answer would be no, because I've not been thankful. Well, then we drop to Psalms chapter 100 and verse 4, and the psalmist says, enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him and praise His name. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. What is the psalmist saying? The psalmist is saying that every time you come before God, every time you pray that prayer, every time that you come before God, that you are to come before God thankful, giving thanks. Well, ask yourself, how did you walk in this building today? Did you walk in saying, man, I hope they have coffee. I hope the heat's on. I hope I don't have to sit next to that so-and-so guy or gal. I mean, how did you walk in? Did you walk in saying, thank you that I'm able to be here? Or did you walk in like the Janis Jackson song, what has He done for me lately? What are you going to do for me, God, lately? What have you done for me lately? Not much, so you get a chance Sunday morning to make up for it. I mean, is that what or did we come in saying, God, I am thankful to be in your presence. I am thankful for anything that happens today. I'm thankful before you do a doggone thing. I am just thankful for being here. I'm thankful. When you come before the Lord and you enter his presence, the first words out of your mouth should be words of thanksgiving. Not what can you do for me lately? But the first words out of our mouth should be words of thanksgiving. I'm going to give you a couple of points. You see, we assume that God loves us so much and he cares for us so much that he doesn't need to be thanked. I believe that's true. I believe that we actually assume that. That we talk so much about God's love and the fact that God gives so much. He so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that we actually forget to thank him for that. We become accustomed to it. We don't give thanks because we're looking at the need and we're looking at the desire and we're looking at the want, that we forget to say thank you. It's kind of like a relationship. When you enter into a relationship and everything is new, you're so thankful just to be in that person's presence. You think everything about them is cute and you comment about it. You've got the cutest little twitch in your right eye, and when you smile, the left little lip goes up a little bit. And it's so cute. I just love it. But as you're into the relationship for a length of time, you no longer comment on those things because it becomes expected. It's something that it just is. It's no longer cute. I remember when I first gave my heart to the Lord, I thanked him for everything. Everything. God, my car started. Thank you, Jesus. It was a piece of junk. I had to thank him that it started. I'd go to the beach to go surfing with my friends, and we'd call Surf Report to find out how they were breaking, how big they were. And I mean, if we heard that there was a swell, we were down there. And I remember I'd be sitting out in the water on my board, and if a little ripple came that I thought I could get, I'd be thanking Jesus, praising him all the way. Woo! Thank you, Jesus. I thanked him for everything. But as the relationship went on year after year after year, it became like the relationship with a significant other. You stop being thankful. And you have to remind yourself to be thankful. Actually, you start taking the other person for granted. I wonder how many of us take God for granted. Oh God, you always be there when I need you. You always be there when I need something. I've actually seen people, the first time God touched me, God healed me, and I had a miracle in my life, I did somersaults. I was so thankful. Now we see God heal people or God touches and we get healed. We just go, oh, just another healing. I've seen a lot of those over the years. And that's the attitude we have because it's no longer new. I bring Deborah a cup of coffee every morning. In fact, I don't think I've not done it in the last 3 years, not one morning, unless I've been out of town. I can hear when she gets up and I go press the heat button on the coffee pot. And about the time she's shuffling around and making the bed, it's done, and I'm coming up with a cup of coffee. But here's the thing. Somebody says, why do you do that? Why do you do that? It's not because she can't get her own coffee. She's fully capable. She's got 2 legs and 2 arms and a brain. She could go start it herself and do it. But why do I do it? You know why I do it? Because every morning she says thank you. Every morning I give her the coffee, and as I'm walking out, she'll say, oh, thank you for coffee this morning. Now, every morning she gets the same cup of coffee, but every morning she'll say thank you. I was thinking, what if she stopped saying thank you? How long would I continue to bring her a cup of coffee? I probably do it for a while. It's kind of built into me. It's become a habit. But I think in time that I would begin to forget. And I would not only begin to forget, I would become sidetracked with other things because I am doing something when she gets up. I'm already engaged in something, but I go, oh, she's up, press on, get the coffee. But I do it primarily because she says, thank you. So I'm thinking, why is it important to tell God thank you? Does he need your and my thanks? Does he need it? No. It's actually more for you than it is for him. Because when you thank him, he is prone to do more than when you don't. It's like this. My granddaughter remembered that I said a week ago that I was taking her to that Claire's to use her gift certificate. So I sat down on the front row and we're talking about worship, and she opened her purse and she showed me that she had an extra $20 and that she watched somebody's dog or something, and she had another $5, and she said to me, she said, so are we going to Claire's today like you said? I told her, well, we're going to go have lunch with Kevin, and we'll talk Kevin into coming to Claire's with us. Sorry, Kevin. But here's the thing. I started thinking, I'm going to go out of my ways to go to Claire's so that she can use her gift certificate. When we are done, she better say thank you. Now, if she doesn't, there's not a thing I'll say about it. But guess how many times I will offer to take her to use her gift certificate in the future if she's not thankful. So actually, her being thankful does more for her than it does for me. It'll make me feel a little good, but life goes on for me, with a thank you or not. I'm not living on her thankfulness. But it does more for her than it does for me. Because when she says to me, thank you, and I love you for, you got me, look what I got, and she's so excited, it does more for her than me, because guess what? I want to take her back to Claire's next Sunday again. And this time she doesn't have a gift certificate, so I want to give her the $20 to buy some stuff, because she's so grateful. It brings something out of me that wants to keep giving and giving and giving. I believe people don't get from God because they don't learn to be thankful for what he has already given them. We are so busy asking that we forget to thank. Well, God, I need a new car, and I'm asking you for a new car. Yes, but can you thank him for the car that you have now? Well, God, I just need a car. Well, thank him for the bicycle you have now. Well, Father, I just need better housing. I need a bigger, I can't stay in a one-bedroom apartment. I need a two-bedroom apartment or a three-bedroom apartment. Well, how about thanking him for the one-bedroom that you have now? In fact, Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6 says this, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with what? With thanksgiving, present your request to God. That is telling me that every time you and I ask for something, we ought to be also thankful for something. Anytime we request something, it ought to be coupled with a thank you. In fact, if you'll do a word search through the New Testament, you'll find that every time there is a reference, almost every time there is a reference to prayer, there is another reference to being thankful in the same verse. But we talk about faith, and we talk about prayer, and we talk about asking, and we talk about getting, and we forget to talk about thankfulness and being thankful for what he is doing. Thank you for the coffee. Thank you for no rain. Thank you for where we live. Thank you for the car. Thank you for the gas money to get to church. Thank you for Deborah. Thank you for toast. Thank you for peanut butter on the toast. Thank you, we're not arguing this morning as we're trying to get out the door. Yes, I don't know how to get all this in the car, but thank you that we have clothes so I get to try. And I just kept thanking him. And I found that by the time I was going down the freeway, I was feeling pretty good. I was thankful for a whole lot of stuff. Thank you, it's Sunday and all the crazy commuters are off the road. I found that I was so thankful I forgot to ask God for anything. I'm just so thankful. I wonder if we become so thankful in life, God said, I know what you need before you ask. I wonder if we spend so much time thanking him that we forget to ask him if he just automatically starts taking care of all of that because of our thankful heart. I found in Luke chapter 17, verse 12 through 19, I want to read to you the saddest portion of Scripture found in the Gospels. Starting at verse 12, speaking of Jesus, and as he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. And they stood at a distance, and they called out in a loud voice, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. We don't see leprosy today in our culture, but it was, in this time, it was one of the most feared diseases. In fact, cancer today would have been a walk in the park compared to leprosy in their day. Because when you became leprous, your body skin parts begin to die and they literally fall off. And it's highly contagious, so lepers lived in leper colonies with other lepers, and they were not allowed to associate with the public. In fact, if they had to go from point A to point B and they were on a public road, as they traveled the public road, they were to call out to let everybody know, anybody else coming know, they were to call out that I'm a leper. Leper walking, like dead man walking. I'm walking. I've got leprosy. I'm a leper. I'm walking. I'm a leper. So that gave people the time to get away from them and to keep a distance so as not to be contaminated with that leprosy. Can you imagine the stigma? Living with this disease where people look at you and you are white. The part of your body that's dying becomes white because there's no life in it, no blood in it, and chunks of your face now have fallen off. Part of your ear, maybe your nose. You've lost all the fingers on one hand. Maybe you've lost your arm. And you are literally dying by pieces to your vital organs, and then you die. And while going through that, you're in the public going, I'm a leper, I'm a leper. Just in case you don't know, I'm a leper. Stand back. That's what these men are doing. They called out in a loud voice, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. We're lepers. Have some mercy on us. And when he saw them, he said, go show yourself to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. He said, go back to the temple and show yourself to the priest. And as they were going, their leprosy started to leave them. And by the time they got to the priest, they were cleansed. What a miracle. Can you imagine? They're walking to the priest. I'm a leper, I'm a leper, I'm a leper. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not. I'm a leper, I'm a leper, I'm a leper. Well, not anymore. I'm cleansed. I'm completely made whole. Verse 15, this is where it gets sad. One of them, when he saw he was healed, he came back praising God in a loud voice, and he threw himself at Jesus' feet, and he thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Jesus asked, were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? Then he called to him, rise and go, your faith has made you well. Now, we've said before that whenever the writer points out something that seems insignificant and he draws reference to it, there is a reason for that. You see, the writer here is telling us that there were 10. He didn't say a group. He numbered them. There were 10. That's a precise number. He's saying that out of the 10, only one is a Samaritan. The 9 weren't. 1 was, 9 weren't. What the writer is saying by pointing out what seems to be something you had overlooked and drawn attention to it, there are 10, 9 weren't Samaritans, meaning they were Jews, 1 was a Samaritan. I asked myself, what is the writer trying to show us in this? And this is what it is. The writer is showing us that the Jews, because they were Jews, felt religiously entitled. And when they called out to Jesus, I'm a leper, knowing he's the Messiah, he's the healer, knowing that, they expect something to happen. There is a level of expectation. Now, I don't know that they believed they were going to be completely healed, but I do believe that when he said, go to the priest, go present yourself to the priest, I believe that as they went, they expected something because of their heritage, because they were Jews, they were God's people, and he's the Messiah, and they know it. So there's a level of expectation. But one of them is not a Jew. One of them is a Samaritan, and if you know anything about that culture, the Jews hated the Samaritans with a passion, considered Samaritans dirty, filthy, wretched dogs. In fact, Jews wouldn't even cross the threshold of their door and step into their front room because it was considered you would become instantly unclean if you got that close to a Samaritan. They hated the Samaritans. So why is this one leper Samaritan with the other 9? Because they were all lepers. They had that one thing in common. We're lepers. We're outcasts from society. We've got to stay together to live. But the 9 expected something from Jesus because even with leprosy, they were Jews. But the Samaritan, the one, he didn't expect anything from Jesus because he's a Samaritan. He's just with the crowd. They call out. Jesus said, go. He's going with them because he's going with the crowd. We're all in this together. But God touches the 9. God also touches the one Samaritan, and he's healed too. But he's so astounded that God would actually love him and heal him, he's got to run all the way back. I don't know how far they got. I don't know what the distance was. But however far it was, the 9 were out of sight and gone. He runs all the way back and he falls at Jesus' feet. And he says, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Jesus goes, you're thankful what happened to the other 9. Weren't there 10 of you? That is the saddest story to me in all the Gospels. The 9 that forgot. And how quickly they forgot. How do you go from being healed of leprosy 1 minute and never giving it a thought to go back and say thank you? Yet I wonder how many of us do that today. God, heal me. I don't feel well. Heal me. I feel like I'm going to get sick. And God does it, and you go on with your day. Never say a thank you. It's as though you were never sick. God, help me pay the bills, God, help me. And then all of a sudden, something happens. You get a chunk of change, and you forgot that you couldn't pay them a day ago. Now you can pay them, and in that you forgot to say thank you. What about those that God has brought in life? We don't live in the past, but don't ever forget your past. We don't go back and live it. But I remember it, therefore I am thankful today because I haven't forgot where I came from. But when you forget where you came from, you stop being thankful because everything's to be expected. I mean, after all, look at me. I'm all that. I wasn't all that years ago. Neither were you. And we forget to be thankful. And I wonder if when we stop being thankful, God stops giving. No, every once in a while he'll do something. He does something because he is a loving God. I will always do for my granddaughter. Oh, at Christmas I'll do something. On her birthday I'll do something. But I'm going to break my back to get her to the mall the day after Good Friday and fight all of those people and the car so she can spend a gift certificate? Not if she's not thankful, I'm not. But I'll go the extra mile because of her thankfulness. And I wonder if God is that way with us. How thankful are you? How thankful are you? Second thing is it doesn't get better. Let me read to you from 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 and verse 2. Paul says to Timothy, he says, but mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money. They will be boastful, they will be proud, they will be abusive, they will be disobedient to their parents, and they will be unthankful. I'm sorry, I don't have good news. It's not going to get better. Paul is telling Timothy it's going to get worse. People will only love themselves. They will love their money. I stopped at verse 2. If you read the other verses, you'll find that he's got a laundry list. It goes on of what is happening to this society. So I can't measure my thankfulness to people in the world's level of thankfulness because I'm not held to their standard. I'm held to God's standard. It's amazing. I was thinking about the level of ungratefulness and the level of the lack of love for another individual. You know, in my day, I thought I was part of a gang when I was young, but looking back, it was a total joke. My best friend was the toughest kid in the school. I wasn't, but he was. And so that I could have as much toughness as his, I remember I carried a switchblade in my pocket, but it was broken, so it would open on its own whenever it wanted to. So I'd be sitting in class and it would go ching, and that crazy thing. Anyway, so we weren't tough, but we thought we were. So me and my buddies, the day before the big fight, we would go to the construction site and we'd hide pipes in the sand and all kinds of stuff like that we thought were cool weapons. And then the day thereof, we knew where all our weapons were. So we'd all get there and the other group would get there and we'd do that fighting, the rumble thing. But we only fought our enemies. Today, these guys shoot people they don't even know because it's fun. I don't even know you. I've never seen you, but boom, just because I want to do it. I see videos of people going up to older men and older women while they're carrying their groceries from the store and just go up and then just cold cock them and knock them out and run away laughing because it's fun. What did that man ever do to you or that woman ever do to you? They didn't even look at you, and you hit them because it's fun. People stealing from each other because why not? I don't need what you got, but I'm going to rob you anyway because it's what I do. Deborah was telling me that she was talking to somebody the other day that he said when I was homeless, I built a little lean-to thing, and the other homeless people in my camp got jealous, and when I walked away to go do something, they put poison ivy in my bedding, and when I came back and went to sleep, I got all infected with poison ivy. And I thought, now that is absolutely insane. You're homeless, but your homeless buddy builds a little something, and you get so jealous that you got to ruin his sleeping and his life. Even Robin Hood knew enough to rob the rich and give to the poor, but now you got the poor robbing the poor because that's what we do. Something's absolutely insane. And Timothy is saying, it's just going to get worse. Or Paul to Timothy, it's going to get worse. But you and I, we live by a different standard. You might not be thankful, but I am thankful. You might not give credit where credit is due, but I am going to give credit where credit is due. I am going to remember there is a God, and there is a God who's touched my life, whether you do or not. I'm going to be that son of his that's always saying, thank you, Dad, thank you, Dad, thank you, Dad. Thank you for all that you do for me. I am forever grateful. I will never lose that. I don't care if the whole world and the church becomes ungrateful. I will never be ungrateful. Somebody said, well, Pastor, I don't have anything to be grateful for. Oh, you are absolutely insane if you think that. I'm sorry. Are you on respite care right now? You're sitting here looking at me, looking pretty good. Be thankful for that. Did you eat breakfast this morning? Some of you ate it right here. Be thankful for that. Half the world didn't eat this morning. Are you going to have lunch today? If you're here at church, you're going to have lunch in the cafe. Be thankful for that. There's a good part of the world that didn't have breakfast and won't have lunch. Lest I forget, those of you that smoke. What you spend in a week on cigarettes would feed a family for a month halfway around this world. Be thankful. Next time you light up, say, God, thank you that I have the money for cigarettes. Because there are people that wish they had that $50 a week. They could feed their family for a month. Well, Pastor, I don't smoke. Even though Kevin thinks the angels do, I don't smoke. But I do go by Starbucks once a day and spend $4.50 on the Frappuccino, Mocha, whatever it is. And you do that 5 days a week. You have a lot to be thankful for because there are families that wish they had that money. There are families that could feed the little ones and keep them from starving and get water if they had that kind of money. I'm going to leave you with this. 'Tis the season, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. 'Tis the season. We're in a season where people are the most self-centered and self-absorbed of any time of the year. It didn't used to be that way, but it has become that way today. I wonder, we spent Thanksgiving, as many of you did, feeding folks at Willow Hall, and then many went on to their own family and to do their own dinner. Some had family obligations that prohibited them from coming, and that's okay. But as I went on Facebook later that day, I saw picture after picture after picture of what people ate. Comments like, I was so stuffed I thought I would throw up. But I did have room for pie. And as I looked at that, I thought, I wonder how many people around the world wish they had that meal. I wonder how many people around the world wish they had a third of that meal. But we're bragging that we ate till we threw up. We're gorging. And I'm not here to condemn anybody or lay a guilt trip on anybody. But I wonder how many people, while they had that big spread of food and they were all taking pictures, look at this, oh man, look at me in the kitchen with my apple pie and pumpkin pie. Look at this turkey. I saw turkeys before they were cooked, turkey after they were cooked. Look at this, I'm cutting my turkey. I wonder how many people actually said thank you for what they had. It is Thanksgiving, right? But we've taken the thanks out of it, haven't we? It's all about whose house I can go to and who's going to have the best of this and the best of that. And how full can I get, and can I still eat dessert without getting sick? But never say thank you. And we can do that because we don't have the opportunity to go to some parts of the world where they have nothing. So we forget how blessed we actually are. We have Black Friday. I don't like it. I don't want to be in that crowd. That's not my thing. But I did drive by the mall on Black Friday, and I commented to Deborah, I said, every parking place is taken, and there are people going up and down. I wonder if the people in the store fighting to get that something that's marked down, I wonder if they ever said thank you that I actually have money to do this. Or if they're just so wrapped up in finding the parking place and beating somebody else to the 30% off table that there isn't an ounce of thankfulness in them. I'm willing to bet that 99.9% of the people fighting at Macy's never said thank you. Not one time. Not to the salesperson, not to the people with them, not to God, that I actually can buy this. We have Christmas coming up. Where it is the one time of year, whether you're a Christian or not, you get the opportunity to say thank you to God for the gift of His Son, Jesus Christ. And we decided that we didn't want to do that, so we're kicking Christ out of it, and we're putting a big X in it. We X'd Him right out. So we're going to spend money that we don't have to buy presents for people that we don't like, to give them something that they will not want. And we've taken the one time of year, the time to worship God for the gift of His Son, and we've turned it into everything else but. People will tear gifts, wrapping, like it, don't like it, complain about it, don't complain about it, and never once look to heaven and say, thank you for the gift of your Son. Thank you for life. Thank you that I'm in America. Thank you that I got a roof over my head. Thank you that I got food to eat. Thank you that I have money to buy that gift for that person I don't like. Thank you that I got a buck. Thank you for those people in my life that are family. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Instead, we're just going to get wrapped up. And that's believers. The world has no shame. They just X Jesus right out of it. Go away. We're not thankful and we don't care. It's now Xmas, not Christmas. I'm going to challenge you to take a moment and to begin to tell God right now what you are thankful for. What are you thankful for? What has He done for you lately that you haven't said thank you? And I think this would be a great time to do it. I don't know about you, but in my heart, this season, this year, is different. I'm not so into the whole gift thing. And I don't really care about the whole dinner stuff. I do care about being thankful. Because had He not touched me, I would not be here. And I'm very thankful for that.